Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today I've got part one of a two-part convention report because my wife and I just came back from Terrificon at the Mohegan Sun in Uncasville, Connecticut. And I bought a bunch of stuff, my wife got some stuff, and I got a bunch of stuff signed. So I've got a ton of stuff to show you. So it's very exciting. A couple things just before I jump into it real quick. We're almost to 1,100 subscribers. In the link down below, there's a link to my 1,100 subscriber giveaway contest. So watch that video. All you got to do there is subscribe and leave a question for me in the comments. And when we hit 1,100 videos, I'm going to give away a box of comics, and I'm also going to answer all the questions you've asked. So you can do that down below. Let's get up to that 1,100 mark. Also, my new comic, Quest number 4, is coming to Kickstarter soon. Again, the link will be down below. You can click on that to check out the pre-launch page, which has images and like a description and stuff. You can click the notify me on launch button once you're there to make sure you don't miss it. And if you have missed the first 3 issues, you can catch up on the whole run. I've got special discounted catch-up tiers will be available. That'll be launching in just about 2 to 3 weeks. So, all of that being said, let's talk about Terrificon. This is the program. Looks really cool. Programs these days I find mostly useless. It does have sort of a map in it. You can get a sense of just how large this giant convention is by how many little tables there are there and everything. Unfortunately, you just scan this QR code to tell you what any of that means. So that's a little bit disappointing. But great show. For me here in New England, I think it's the best show in New England. I think it's the best show focusing on comics. They do have other celebrities from TV shows and like wrestling, like Sergeant Slaughter was there or whatever. But they consistently get the most comic creators and the biggest name comic creators. There's people that I see at Terrificon that I don't see at any of the other New England shows. So we love doing that. It's about an hour and a half from us. So we went down, we stayed overnight, and we spent 9 hours at the show. We basically got there right when it opened on Saturday and stayed for the whole show. I brought a bunch of stuff to get signed. I only got some of it signed. So I'm going to show you that stuff now. As you know, if you've watched a lot of my previous convention videos, when it comes to signatures, and I love getting signatures, but when it comes to signatures, my number one rule is, since I'm originally an Avengers collector and I have a complete run up through issue 503, is that if the creator worked on Avengers, I get them to sign their Avengers work first, and then I'll do whatever else. Now, at this show, there are a number of creators, artists that worked on Avengers that I have not met before. So I brought 4 comics for 4 different creators. I only got one of them signed. So basically the story is Rudy Nebrez was there. I didn't even realize that he worked on Avengers until I was researching things and discovered that he drew the worst issue of Avengers from the first 30 years of the run, which is, and you can say it with me if you're an Avengers fan, it's issue 178, the fill-in that came in right after the Korvac saga. I brought that with me to have him sign it, but I actually didn't see him. I couldn't find his table, so I just gave up. A couple other people I did find, but for one reason or another didn't get their signatures. Greg LaRocque was there. He drew the cover of Avengers 222. I think he might have done some interiors around there as well. But he was charging $20 for a signature, and I'm all for artists getting money, and I very much support artists actually charging for their signatures, because artists and writers, creators in the comics industry get so little from the companies. I'm all for it. But for me personally, I don't have $20 to spend on Greg LaRocque's signature. So that was I saw the price. I said, no, thank you. Al Milgrom was there. And now Al Milgrom was charging $15. I consider Al Milgrom to be... He's maybe my least favorite regular penciler on the Avengers, with the exception of some of the absolute nut jobs that were like 90s style garbage that was happening like in the 390s from the Diodato school or whatever that crap was. But having said that, Al Milgrom can tell a story, and he's an important Avengers artist. He did a lot of the first half of the Stern run, which is one of my favorite runs in comics. He also did the first, whatever, 25 issues or 30 issues or whatever it was of West Coast Avengers. So he's a very important Avengers artist. So for $15, I was just bringing in one book. I thought, okay, I need to have an Al Milgrom signature in my Avengers collection. However, I didn't get it. Basically, there was a really long line for Al Milgrom. And so I was like, I'll come back later. I came back later. He wasn't at his table, but they said he'll be back in 5 minutes. So I thought, this is perfect. I'll just wait here 5 minutes. He'll come back. I'll get the signature. I actually waited for half an hour, and he still hadn't come back. So at that point, I was like, I don't have this much time in my life for Al Milgrom's signature. No offense. Hopefully I'll see all these people in future shows, and I'll be able to get their signatures. But it just didn't work out. Like, I literally don't have that much time at a show to wait for Al Milgrom. I mean, if I was waiting for Stan Lee, that would be different. But so those are the negatives. But I did get a bunch of stuff signed. I realized we're 6 minutes in the video and I haven't shown you anything yet. So let me show you this. Another treat for Avengers fans, depending on how you feel about certain things. It's an infamous issue with an infamous moment drawn by, in an infamous way, by the infamous Bob Hall. So I had to have Bob Hall sign Avengers number 213. He famously, this is the issue where Yellow Jacket has a breakdown and hits the Wasp, which has basically ruined the character of Yellow Jacket forever. And to hear Bob Hall tell this story, and Jim Shooter tell this story, he wasn't really supposed to hit her the way it's depicted in the comic. It was supposed to be more like he was swinging his arm, gesticulating like, hey, get out of here, and accidentally hit her, like, because he didn't see her there or something like that. But Bob Hall says he just didn't have the skill to do that. He was trained in like the Marvel style, the John Buscema Kirby-esque like super action. So he drew it as like a full-fledged smack, and thus history was made, and etc. etc. I don't know, but whatever the case, there's his signature, Bob Hall, infamous issue 213. The most I spent on signatures was actually with Ron Garney, more than I probably would normally. It was $10, which I think is, again, totally reasonable for Ron Garney, someone of his stature, and I totally support it. I had 3 books from him to sign. Normally in this situation, I would probably just get 1. But I got all 3 signed, and the reason was that this is the 4th show over a period of like 6 years where I was supposed to get Ron Garney's autograph, and each of the first 3, I wasn't able to. The first 2 shows that he was supposed to be at that I brought these books to, he canceled the appearance. And then last year at Terrificon, I saw him at his table, but I was in a long line for someone else. And by the time I got out of the line, he wasn't at his table anymore, and then the show ended, and I never saw him. So after all these years of missing him, plus these have all already been signed by Mark Waid, so I wanted to have the creative team, full creative team. So here is their Captain America number 1. Didn't really show these in order, because the order they're supposed to go is they're supposed to start with this one, which was their first issue on Captain America. And then that was 444, and then 445, which has a great cover by Garney. The art in here, like, this run was a breath of fresh air. When I reread it now, I actually don't like it nearly as much as I did when it came out. But one thing that was great was the art leading up to this was very 90s. And then so to have Ron Garney come in with this much cleaner, like, classic style is just great. So I've always loved this cover, and very excited to get that signed from Ron Garney. Finally checked that off. I also got some really cool signatures here. June Brigman was there, and now most of the people in line were having June Brigman sign, of course, Power Pack. But even though I grew up on Power Pack, and I was a big fan of Power Pack as a kid, because, I was only 12 or whatever when I read when I first read Power Pack. So I was right at the right age for it. What I actually wanted to have her sign was this. I got her to sign some issues of Barbie. This is Barbie Fashion number 6. Now you'll notice 2 signatures. That's because down here it says June and Roy. Her partner, Roy Richardson, is the inker, and he was there with her. So I had both of them sign this. Now, in terms of inking jobs, there's almost no inking in any of these covers. But I got them to sign all of these here. Barbie Fashion number 3. I love the graphic design elements of these Barbie covers. And then probably my favorite of the bunch here is this really cool Barbie number 11 cover. I really, really like the colors and the design. It's just really well done. So you can see I've got their signatures down here. So very happy to get all of those. Paul Kupperberg was at the show, and now I've had him sign a bunch of stuff in the past, particularly like the Life with Archie stuff that he did for Archie, the series where Archie was an adult, right? I had him sign those all a long time ago. But what a lot of people don't know is that Paul Kupperberg has some of the rights to some Charlton material. I don't really understand how it works, but about 10 years or so ago, Paul Kupperberg put out some new Charlton romance. So if I haven't shown this before, here is Secret Romances number 1, Paul Kupperberg's Secret Romances. Now this features a cover by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. You can see this couple's hugging, and she doesn't know that this guy has a big knife. So the stories inside are all a little bit offbeat twists on the romance genre. A lot of sort of snarky humor and whatever. But they're good, and I had him sign that. Now Jose Luis Garcia Lopez was at the show, but I didn't ultimately end up having him sign this. I brought some other Charlton romance for him to sign. So here are some things that you probably won't see very often. It's Teen Confessions number 61, signed down here by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. One thing that was really interesting is that he told me, well, there was a conversation between him and his assistant about these covers, because he hadn't seen these in so long, he didn't remember them. He actually took photos of these when I got them signed. I always like it when I bring comics that the creators don't usually see, so it's not the regular stuff. And so he was very excited to see these. And one thing he mentioned to his assistant as he was taking pictures of them is that he had drawn himself into these covers. So the artist's model here is Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. And one of my favorite Charlton romance covers is I Love You number 126, which is a tremendous cover. See the signature down here. And again, he said that this is actually him. He drew himself into this cover as well. So I had a couple other covers by him from Charlton, and he wasn't asking nearly as much money as some of the other people. So it's kind of crazy, Again, no disrespect meant to Al Milgram, because he had a big line, much bigger line than Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, and he was charging $15. With Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, they were asking $5 donations towards the Heroes Initiative. So, but he was the first person I went to. I didn't know how much money I was going to need for all of the other signatures. So I played it conservative. I just got these 2 signed from him. Now, I've met him before. I had him sign a bunch of Action Wonder Woman stuff the first time I met him, and I no longer have any of those because I sold both of those runs. But I did also, at one previous convention, have him sign some issues of Atari Force, which I still have. So hopefully I'll get to see him again and have him sign some more Charlton romance, because as you'll see in the next video, not in this video, but next time, in part 2 of the convention report, I bought a bunch of romance comics, including one of them had a cover from Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. So it was very exciting to meet these creators. Not as many signatures as I usually get at shows, but still a great time was had by all, and I love getting signatures and meeting these creators and So it was really exciting to get all of these books signed. Now, let's get on to the books that have been purchased. And these were bought by my wife. There's basically 3 separate purchases here. She spent all of her money in the Artist Alley, all the indie and self-published creators like me selling their stuff. And normally I buy a bunch of stuff there, but I actually spent so much money on romance comics and the signatures that I didn't have any money left. So I didn't actually, normally I come back with a big pile of this sort of thing as well, but this time I didn't. But first up, she got Skull Force Agents by Jack D. Ryder, which is like a humorous sort of spoof of spy stuff, and I guess there's some like office politics sort of stuff in it too. My wife read it and said she enjoyed it. So that's Skull Force Agents. Another book that she really liked, and I'm actually not familiar with these, is a series called Djinn Hunter. And it's basically about a woman who hunts down evil jinns that are like granting evil wishes that are hurting people. So she really likes the art in this. I think she read the first issue and said she really liked it, but she got a whole set of 5 issues. So again, this is not a series I was familiar with. But here's issue 1 of Djinn Hunter. The imprint is called Black Box Comics, which I'm not familiar with. Here's issue 2. Yeah, she really liked the art. Some really vibrant sort of coloring on these. There's definitely sort of an anime, sort of manga influence. I mean, I'm not actually a big fan of the coloring on this. There's a tower here with some people on it and stuff. And there's a roof here, and it's a little bit hard for me to make out. The contrast isn't enough for me personally, but it definitely has a very, like, again, anime, manga, almost like a video game feel to the characters and the way they're colored and stuff. And my wife really liked the art. I have seen some of the interior art, and the colors are sort of brighter and more distinct inside, actually, than they are on the covers. But some really cool art, some really cool covers. Has a very Final Fantasy feel, I guess, to me. So there's 5 issues of Djinn Hunter that my wife got. Finally, she got several different things from a creator that I am familiar with, a guy by the name of Ted Sikora. Now, Ted does a lot of stuff on Kickstarter, and the first one I'm going to show you is she got the set of 4 issues of his series Bloom, and that's a series where actually, when I was doing one of my comics, I cross-promoted with him on Kickstarter. And I think I've shown 1 issue of Bloom previously, because I do have a 1 issue of Bloom in my collection. But my wife got the full set of 4, so here's issue 1. Issue 2. Now, a couple of these are clearly variants. You can tell they don't have the logos on them. These are Virgin variants. Issue 3. And issue 4. And I think this is a Dan Parent cover, actually. It's interesting, like, I don't see a signature, but this woman, here's the same cover, it's just the back cover is in black and white, and that art looks very, there's some certain characteristics of it that look very Dan Parent to me. So she got those, but she also got some other stuff from Ted as well. He does very well on Kickstarter. He's a couple levels above me in terms of the Kickstarter creator hierarchy. He gets a lot more supporters and also a lot more money that he brings in. Here is a hardcover collection, volume 1 of his comic Tap Dance Killer. This has got 5 issues. It says, Nikki St. Clair was the sweetest gal in the city until she was cast in a horror show musical as the Tap Dance Killer. Now, unable to shake the role, this 1920s-esque bizarre mobster assassin is out on the streets dealing damage with a theatrical flair that leaves them quite literally slain in the aisles. So that's this here. She also got an issue 3 of another series of his called Punchline and the Vaudevillains. And this is the first appearance of his sort of Day of the Dead inspired character, Volante the Undead. So here she is on the cover. The back cover has the art in this sort of blue line. And it also came with this Volante bookmark. So a lot of really cool stuff. I'm kind of curious to read some of these because I've cross-promoted with Ted before. I'm familiar with all of these titles from Kickstarter because frequently live at the same time since I do so many books, and he does even more than I do. But I haven't had a chance to read most of them, only that one issue of Bloom that I have. So I'm really curious to see those. So very exciting. And my wife really supporting the indie comics community. She always supports my stuff and my works, but she also is giving a lot of support to the other rest of the community here. So that's just part 1. I have so many romance comics that I bought. Like I found like a honey hole, the mother lode. I got a big pile. So there's too many to fit in this video, so I'm going to do a whole separate video of that. That'll be next time. You'll see the back issues I got and how I spent all of my money. Not all the money I have in the world, but all the money I had for this show all went basically to almost all of it went to just one dealer who had a massive trove of romance. So that'll be next time. But for now, done with part 1. Let me know what you think in the comments down below of the signatures and these indie books that I've shown you, and I'll see you next time.